God, it's Friday and time for the news on the Dan Broadcasting System television. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin this newscast with the headlines. President Paul Biya addresses the United Nations General Assembly today. He talked on salient issues, amongst which were terrorism, hunger and poverty, and reminded the world leaders that sustainable development can only be built when there is peace and security. Meanwhile, angry protesters have taken to the streets of Bamenda, making demands like the halting of arbitrary arrest and detention. In this newscast, we shall be bringing you reports from Boya that the same situation of angry protesters is taking place there. Those were our headlines. Once again, you're welcome to this newscast, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rahel Ule Abia for presentation. No sustainable development can be achieved without peace. This was one of the high points elaborated on by President Paul Biya while addressing the United Nations General Assembly today. He equally talked about issues relating to terrorism, poverty, hunger, amongst others. Amadou Jallo Buba takes us back to that speech.
Cameroon President, His Excellency Paul Biya, has this Friday, September 22nd, addressed the 72nd General Assembly of the United Nations in New York. He took to the rostrum as one of the experienced leaders to draw the attention of his colleagues on the crises that are affecting the world as a whole and what should be done to preserve peace. He made remarkable observations on the huge calamity hitting different countries across the globe emanating from terrorist groups, claiming thousands of innocent lives. In the case of Cameroon and its neighbors of the Lake Chad region, he did not hesitate to cite Boko Haram, which has already claimed over 2,000 lives. He then called on the world leaders under the banner of the UN to keep to the path of a global response to these groups. He further cautioned the rest of the member states of the UN to join efforts in redressing climate change, which is already having untold negative effects on humanity. For example, Lake Chad having 90% of its water disappeared. Cameroon is one of the very first countries to ratify the Paris Accord on climate change and request others to do so in order to preserve the Congo Basin. On poverty reduction, Paul Biya was very clear that measures taken by world leaders are not paying off enough. He re-echoed the necessity for the world leaders to preserve peace so as to guarantee a better tomorrow for future generations.
We heard in the headlines that protesters have today flooded the streets of Bamenda with a wide range of demands that includes a halt of arbitrary arrest and detention. The march, said to be peaceful, was under the watchful eyes of security officials. Philip Sote completes that story.
From the Nkwenfon's Palace through the major streets of Bamenda to the Mankonfon's Palace, a distance of approximately 30 kilometers, they were dominantly the young. They came out in overwhelming numbers, marching, chanting, a few of them carrying placards. Placards all centered around demands that all those arrested be released, demands that all arbitrary arrests be put to a halt. Beyond the placards, protesters also transmitted their messages through song. Many are those who made it on foot, but the bike riders were also many. They took the front stage, displaying on streets that were void of vehicles, but for one or two that could be spotted trafficating through the crowds. Police and gendarmes were stationed on major junctions with water tankers in case of any overflow of emotions. But that apparently did not happen, even though conflicting reports of arrest and immediate release were signaled, while others said no arrests were made. Nothing confirmed, however, but the fact is that protest march took place. Turnout was overwhelming. Security services put in place were visibly on holiday, and that was Friday, September 22nd in Bamenda.
And we will have in our correspondent from the Southwest region, Simply Spooning, who will be with us in this newscast to give us highlights of what happened in Buea today. However, Meduke Follan in another report tells us that, that there had been an attempt to set ablaze the fueled petroleum tankers of SDP here in Douala. The act that was committed this morning did not go through, but the governor of the Littoral region says it is an alert for the powers that be to tighten security. Meduke Follan.
The population of Mbopi Market here in Douala were in fear Friday, September 22, after an explosion occurred very close to the walls of the oil distribution company SDP. A gas bottle mixed with different substances has been placed by some unknown men, all in attempt to set the company ablaze. Fortunately and unfortunately, the scheme was not effective after the gas explosion failed to reach the tankers, but rather created fear and panic. The governor of the Littoral region and some top administrators alongside security elements have been at the side. He says this act is an alert for authorities to implement security.
The explosion this morning in the wall of SDP here around the market and railway station, and we came to see what happens. So these explosions is a criminal one. They wanted to put fire in those tankers behind us, but they didn't succeed. But I'm saying that they are helping us to be more aware, so that all the other ones that are preparing to do it, we take all of them. There's no way to bring trouble in Douala.
Some Denisians who had happened to be around the scene of event have appealed to authorities to step up security measures, not only in this area, especially this period. It should be noted this explosion is third in Douala, fourth in the country at the time of this report, after that of Bamenda, Thursday, September 21, that left 3 police officers seriously wounded who are presently receiving treatment at the hospital in Yaoundé.
However, there had been another explosion in Bamenda recently, and the Minister of Communication, Issa Chiroma Bakari, has talked to the press today with regards to the explosion in Bamenda. And of course, in their observation, it is a terrorist attack. Their mouthpiece of the government thus called on public opinion leaders and the population to stand against such act of terrorism. He took the opportunity to present some immediate measures to be implemented by government. He talked to us through Ngo Francis.
As he was informed of the situation, the head of state, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and Supreme Commander of the Security Forces ordered right from New York, where he is taking part in the session of the 72nd General Assembly of the United Nations, that special measures be taken by the defense and security forces to strengthen the security of person and property, and that special provisions be put in place so as to ensure greater security for school 24 hours a day. Strong measures have already been taken to reinforce security and prevent any destabilization move whenever it comes from and wherever it comes from. The government is therefore calling on the people to act in this direction and to cooperate fully with our defense and security forces to eradicate this new terrorist peril that leaves no doubt about the reality of its objectives. We are therefore faced with a proper terrorist organization that the entire nation, united behind its leader, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, will fight by all means until its final extinction. The government of the Republic is taking the national and international community as witness on the turn of events and which require the government to take its responsibility in order to ensure the order, peace, and security that our population deserve in order to enjoy their rights and freedoms. Cameroonians are resolutely committed behind the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, Head of State and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to leading this just and legitimate battle, which we will surely win.
The second edition of Caravan to sensitize very small and medium-sized enterprises to join approved management centers has been launched in Douala today. Professor Laurent Serge Etundingwa launched the campaign and highlighted some of the advantages and government support that awaits any organization or small and medium-sized enterprise that joins this approved management center. Williams Amo Awa with the details.
Je déclare ouverte la deuxième édition du caravane de sensibilisation sur les centres de gestion agréés dans la ville de Douala.
These words of Minister Laurent Serge Etundingwa at the Aqua Reception Hall in Douala opened the second edition of the caravans to sensitize very small enterprises to join approved management centers with French acronym CGA. This will enable actors of the informal sector in the Littoral region to benefit from tax advantages, trainings to overcome business challenges for productivity, as well as benefits from government support in diverse ways.
There they will receive advices, they will receive the know-how, how to run the enterprises, very small enterprises, and they will benefit from financial input from the Ministry of Finance. So they have to go and make their inscription in this unit so that they can take advantage of a certain code put in place for them. When they don't know it, they are the very first to complain that the physical input of the state on them is very, very heavy.
To very small enterprise, professional organizations and associations, project initiators, and the informal sector in the region, the approved management centers should stay.
Le CGA Sénédéboc principalement est présent presque dans l'ensemble du territoire national.
We of the Regional House of Approved Management Center, Sinabebok, feel very satisfied. We know the opportunities offered and so enjoined start-up businesses and other public-private initiators to join.
Ça chasse énormément les vampires d'impôts.
We have designed approved management centers for long. It is going to be safe as from what I can term illegal tax collectors, vampires who finish and kill the informal sector. I do call all very small enterprises to obey and be in accord with the platform.
After Yaoundé and Douala for the first and second editions respectively,
we will follow in the three coming weeks in Bafoussam in the western region, and thereafter we will go through other regions of the country.
Since the effective start of the activities of the first 3 approved management centers in 2010, the number of member enterprises has been very low. Companies, persons, social economic actors, and other informal sector actors, amongst other legal entities with an annual turnover that is less than or equal to 100 million CFA francs, are eligible to join the approved management centers. Only then can they taste or benefit from government's diverse supports to very small and small enterprises.
Student journalist Raimatu CKB tells us that the construction works at Lompanga in the Lomanjarim division in the east region of the country has been completed. For justification, a team headed by the senior divisional officer of that division had to make a tour expressing satisfaction of the work done. Her report.
The gigantic project of the head of state, which laid the foundation stone in July 2013, built in the eastern region of Cameroon by the Chinese company CWC, is finally complete. It has a length of 1 kilometer, 300 meters, and a height of 55 meters. This is built to ensure the functioning of all the dams existing downstream Lompanga, since the Senegal River already plays its role of regulating the level of water. This dam reservoir of Lompanga was visited by the Cameroonian authority on 30 June, and the laying of the first stone for the supply of electricity took place on 16 July 2017. As part of his tour, the senior divisional officer of Lom and Jarem, Yves Bertrand Alino Awafak, expressed his gratitude and satisfaction with the quality of work.
We came here within the framework of our contractor to visit this gigantic project, the Lompanga hydroelectric dam, which is a reality. It has been constructed, and it is something great, and the population of this area is very grateful to the head of state for this important project. But most importantly, the population is expecting the completion of the second phase of this project, which will now permit the dam to produce 30 megawatts of electricity, and this will definitely solve the shortage of electricity problem that we have in the Lomanjarim division, and why not in the entire East region.
Henri Daniel, the representative of EDC, explained that the construction of the dam for the supply of electricity to the population of the eastern region is complete. However, it has brought development to this community. In a nutshell, the construction of the Lompanga Reservoir Dam has developed fishing activities, making the economic of the population of this part of the country to improve.
The new divisional officer for Douala 5 municipality has been called to work hard so as to justify the confidence bestowed on him by the head of state. This was during the installation ceremony presided at by the senior divisional officer for Vuri division. Mange Venasius was there, and he completes the story.
The arrival of the senior divisional officer for Vuri division, Mache Joseph Bertrand, marked the beginning of the ceremony to install the new divisional officer for Douala 5 subdivision, Bakoma Zacchaeus Elango. This was followed by due respect accorded to the national colors. With a heavily attended population, the mayor for Douala 5 municipality, Gustave Ebanda, welcomed his guest and rendered homage to the outgoing divisional officer as a virtuous man who has always been on the field to fight, among other things, urban disorder and insecurity within the subdivision. He has actually been a divisional officer who was available when needed. He indicated to the incoming officer the characteristic features of the subdivision he would hence lead as being a cosmopolitan one. The senior divisional officer on his part interpreted the welcome given him and his delegation as a mark of respect for the hierarchy.
I would like to thank you all for the warm and fraternal is a signal of the hospitality of the population of this subdivision, and at the same time translates the interest they ever have for the command service.
To this population, he reminded them that they have the duty to build a peaceful Cameroon desired by everyone.
I want to invite all our population that living together is a goal for all of us. Living together is a challenge for all of us. This country is ours, and we have the same responsibility to bring and to build our nation, to build the state of law that we want.
He warned the elite not to be detractors of the incoming divisional officer.
And you, the elites and population of Douala 5, your divisional officer just arriving has no prejudices and as such has no biased mind for or against whosoever. He has only one preoccupation in his mind: to work.
He promised his support to the new divisional officer whenever need will arise.
As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Divisional Officer, you will always receive from my services and myself at any moment the necessary support whenever you succeed effectively in your mission in the subdivision with numerous potential.
After reading the decree appointing the new divisional officer, the SDO presented the incoming divisional officer and asked him to assume duty. As the ruling divisional officer, he inspected a guard of honor mounted by forces of law and order. Gifts were presented to the outgoing divisional officer, who moves to Douala 1 subdivision in the same capacity.
Mr. Tanyi Ako Rossignol comes in as the 4th divisional officer for Bamenda 2 municipality. He'll be taking over from Mr. Itoe Peter Mbongo. He was installed recently by the senior divisional officer for Mezam division. Details with student journalist Cynthia Ngwamo.
The population of Bamenda 2 subdivision, September 21, welcomed the installation of a new divisional officer in the person of Mr. Tanyi Ako Rossignol, who roots from the southwest region of Cameroon as a replacement of Mr. Itoe Peter Mbongo. The ceremony was presided over by the senior divisional officer of Mezam division, Mr. Songa Pierre, at the premises of the Bamenda 2 Council. In the course of this ceremony, the importance and respect of the people's rights was strongly emphasized upon by the mayor of Bamenda 2, Mr. Balig Awa Fidelis.
So the people here know what democracy is. They love and they apply it. They will neither accept nor compromise with anything that touches on their rights, freedom, culture, or tradition.
The installation, followed by scenes of celebrations by cultural groups, also witnessed the expression of the people's worries and expectations in relation to problems of road network, land issues, plus laws and order.
I'm expecting him to solve our land matters, especially, and bring us peace so our children can go back to school. I'm expecting him to use the laws in place, the documents he will be presented, and truthfulness to solve the problems we are having in the subdivision.
Everywhere there are land problems, he should settle these land problems transparently. He should take no sides with any village, nor anybody.
While the population bid the outgoing DO farewell, it is obvious that Mr. Tanyi Ako would have much to deal with, especially with the region's present situation, reason why he is being wished much of luck.
Laureates of the National Competition for Young Authors have been awarded their prize recently. The event that took place on the 21st of September in Yaoundé was officiated by Minister of Arts and Culture, Professor Nassim Mwele Kombi, in the presence of other ministers. We have this report from Yaoundé with Francis Bongo.
This is how the second edition of the National Writing Competition for Young Authors went down at the Cameroon Cultural Center in Yaoundé this Thursday evening. Through this prize award ceremony to the winners of this year's competition, championed by Arts and Culture Minister Professor Narcisse Moelle Kombi, 20 young Anglophone and Francophone authors in the literature world whose works have never been published before received cash prizes ranging from 65 to
Hello.
outstanding literature and depth.
Hello.
Dis-lui. Oui, Simplice. Simplice.
J'espère qu'elle n'est pas en direct.
Simplice. Allô? Oui, Simplice. Oui, il faut que tu restes en stand-by parce que juste après le reportage, si je viens, on commence à causer. Hein?
D'accord, je suis en stand-by.
The jury who had very tough times scrutinizing them. In his speech, Professor Narcisse Moelle Kombi encouraged the young authors who range between 19 and 35 years to continue to reveal the rich literature potential of Cameroon, a country known in the domain as a powerhouse in the continent. To prove his willingness to accompany them, the Arts and Culture Minister announced the publishing in few days of 2 anthologies which shall contain the beautiful artwork of these laureates plus those of 9 runners-up in this competition. This so that the public will come to discover their talents and pay due homage to them. Under this year's theme, Cultural Heritage and Development of Cameroon, this competition was organized with the aim of favoring the discovery of literature talents in youths by placing them in a fair challenge so that their intellectual capacities and creative potentials can be brought to the limelight.
We said in our headlines that we're going to meet our correspondents from Buea in the southwest region who would tell us with a narrative of what actually happened today in Buea. And of course, Simplice Boning is already online and we're talking through telephone to him now. So Simplice Boning, you're going to tell us what happened in Buea today.
Good evening, Ryan. Good evening, televiewers of CBS Television. A very tense day here in the headquarters of the Southwest region today. Population came out in their numbers and converged in the main street, attempting to get to the governor's office. They were later contained by security forces around Bongo Square. And on their way back, they became violent, destroying properties just like the one of the mayor of Buea, Ekemapati Esonge, in which residents' cars were broken. 2 security men were also wounded in the residence of the mayor of Buea, Ekemapati Esonge. They later dispersed late in the evening following serious intervention of security forces, and as I'm talking to you now, the town is actually still under the fear of the unknown.
And tell us, what is the outcome? What happened? Is there any casualty? Are there any deaths?
Yes, actually it is alleged that at least one person was and many property destroyed, and it should also be important to note that many people were arrested.
And so what is the administration saying about the situation as of now, this evening?
Well, for now, no official statement has been made, but what I should also remind the deplorable thing I noticed is the youthfulness of these activists, among which you could find 10-year-old children.
Wow. Well, Simplice, I think that you're going to be giving us updates as to what happened in Buea and, of course, what is going to happen tomorrow and whatever is going to happen in the future. But we're hoping that government would take responsibilities to bring peace back in the southwest region.
That is our prayer all right. For now, the town is relatively calm. Most people are in there for the fear of... Chers clients, votre solde est insuffisant pour continuer cet appel.
Well, we're sorry about that cut there. Actually, the call is cut off. But then I'm sure that Simplice Boning will continue giving us updates as to what happened in Buea and what government has decided as to the situation over there. For now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go over now to another sports news this time around. We're going to talk about the Elite 1 Day 32 results. We have the results that are going to be placed on your screen. We have Astre 4 and Racine would have 1, and Apaches Academy 2, and New Star will equally come with a 1. Unisport 0 and Stade Brenat 0 as well. In the match between Young Sport Academy and Aigle Royal, it was a 1-all tie. Coton Sport, Union Douala, you have Coton Sport beating Union Douala 3-0. Canon had 1 and Fetcher FC had 2 goals, and UMS had 0 as well as Lyon Blessé 0. Those are the features of our 32nd day. Day 32 results of the Elite 1 Championship. And it's on that note that we close the curtains to this newscast. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't go away because programs continue on the Dan Broadcasting System Television. Hope to be with you again Monday. And of course, it's weekend, which we all have to enjoy, but with no excesses. Stay blessed. Good night.